What's going on, Blobs back, and welcome back to another episode of Top Drives. Now, if you are watching this video early, because I'm going to premiere it on my Discord a couple days early before it comes out on YouTube, feel free to comment down below. Hot dogs. That's it. You don't need to add the haha, just the hot dogs is fine. But anyway, before we get into today's video, which I think you know what this is going to be about, as always, a shout out. Today's submission is from Instagram by a person called Topolovich. I love that name, by the way, showcasing a couple of diecast cars while watching me pull an epic Mitsubishi. I think this was from my 7th or 8th 1 mil pack opening of the year where we pulled that Evo, I believe it's an Evo 1. And the cars that he's decided to showcase today is a very beautiful green Porsche 911. It looks like an Alfa Stelvio. Don't know if that's a Quadrifoglio or not, but it is a Stelvio. Right? No, it's a Giulia. It's a Giulia. Don't know my Alphas that well. And last one from BK's 2024, that purple Nissan KDR30. So that's pretty cool. Thank you so much for your submission, Mr. Topolovich. And yeah, if you guys want to, be a part of the series, feel free to send in your submissions on Instagram as well. One thing I have realized is that I need to accept your message before I can, see your photos. But you can send the message first, and then you can tell me that you want to, submit a photo, and usually I will accept your message. But anyway, let's get into it. You guys know how it is already, right? We're talking about the best cars, the top 3 cars for every single track set in the game. Well, almost every single track set. And, as the series goes, I always add on more and more and more track sets. So the first ever episode I did covered about 65 track sets. Then we moved on to like 70, then 80, then 90, and now we are covering almost 100 track sets. Now, as always, guys, it was only about 3 weeks ago since I made the first version, but since then, we've had a little shake up in the meta as well. So let me highlight the metas that have shook up the most, okay? So there are still cars that are still very useful that, remain useful from the previous episode, but there are some other places that have changed, namely the drag meta. The drag meta has changed significantly, right? Things like the Pontiac, the Aston Martin Virage, the Maserati Ghibli, they've all, gone up in super rare territory. The off-road meta has changed a little bit as well. I know my face is like blocking it, but the Chevrolet 1500 Blazer is gone. It's a super rare now. Then we have things like the Abarth, right? The Abarth is a fantastic hybrid car that people like to utilize for Monaco track sets and Tokyo track sets. That has gone up to a super rare as well. So I'll be putting an emphasis on those changes and the new track sets that I've added, and we'll go through the ones that we've seen in the last episode pretty quickly. So without further ado, let's get into it, guys, and I hope you guys find today's video helpful. It will mean a lot to me if you click a like button or subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So let's get into it. We always start off with City, Streets, Medium. Nothing has changed from the previous video, and I'll say it one more time. I've said it earlier, but I'll say it one more time again. If we just covered this about 3 weeks or a month ago in the first version, I'll go through it pretty quickly. If it's a new edition with new winners, I will let you guys know, okay? So City, Streets, Medium. It's always good to give you guys a refresher nonetheless. We've got the Ford Focus ST. All right, I think if you are still accustomed to a muscle memory of what the City Street Medium meta was before even the first wave of car correction changes, I wouldn't blame you, because for the longest time I've always thought the best City Street Medium car, Dodge Hornet, best City Street small car, GMC Denali, right? But obviously that has changed, XT Denali, right? So right now City Street Medium is the Ford Focus. City Street Small also goes to the Ford Focus ST. Again, they're second and third place if you want to collect those as well, but we're really focusing on that big photo on the left side of the screen. Moving on to Twisty Circuit is a Dodge Demon Roadster, and it's the same situation for Twisty Circuit Rolling. You kind of want to go for a 323 Demon Roadster. That is kind of its wheelhouse, Twisty Circuit and Twisty Circuit alone. Moving on to G-Force with the Opel Manta at 233, with the 323 coming closely behind. And in G-Force Rolling, completely different winners. No Opel Manta here. For the rolling start, we've got the Jannetta G40 Junior being the best option to use at 233, followed by its 323 counterpart, and of course a 233 version of the Opel GT. The Opel GT, I mean, this thing you think is very useful, right? but I don't think it's actually the best car in any track set for a rare, which is quite surprising, honestly. But let's continue to have a look at all the track sets we're covering today. We've got G-Force Wet next, and again, the Audi AT 2.2 is the best car to use, followed by the Nissan Wing Road and the Subaru Leon. And then for Monaco Hairpin with the Mazda Speed MX-5 Miata, followed by the Audi TT 2.0 TDI and the Dodge Demon Roadster. Now, there's been a little bit of a change here. The Audi TT and the Dodge Demon Roadster are brand new inclusions. The Mazda MX-5 was never the best. The old best car that was the Monaco Hairpin King was that Fiat Abarth that has now gone super rare. So we don't have that to use anymore. So now we have the MX-5 Miata being the king of the hill. Now, I know this is weird. Okay, I get it. I know this is weird. Audi AT 2.2 Quattro. It's weird, I know, but like I said in the previous video, because this hasn't changed, according to Top Drive's records, this is the best car for G-Force Wet. I do not know why, but someone also commented on that video that they did test, and they did confirm that the Audi AT 2.2 is the best car, which is very strange, you know, with a 77 handling. It's a G-Force, for crying out loud. Tokyo Bridge, we've got some new winners here as well. The previous king of the hill was again that Fiat Abarth. But now it's a Donkavort S8. And this car, this Donkavort S8, is going to be a lot more useful than many people would have imagined. At least I myself was surprised by how many times the Donkavort S8 came out to be the best car. So that at 323, this is definitely one that honestly now is on my radar, and I'm probably going to upgrade multiple, you know, like maybe 2 or 3, because it actually isn't that bad anymore. So Tokyo Bridge is the best car to use. Moving on to Tokyo Off-Ramp, again, we've got the Alpine A110. It used to be, I believe, that Fiat, which has gone up to super rare, and then we have a pair of the Alpine GTA V6s. These two, you're going to see a lot. Tokyo Overpass is up next. It's the Chevy Corvette C4. This was the thumbnail car for the first version, but obviously now we have changed it to the Buick GNX. I'll change the car every time I do a version change. I might bring back the Corvette C4 maybe later on in the future. We'll see. Moving on, Monaco Narrow Streets is the Opel Manta 400 Rally at 233, followed by the 323 version and a 233 of the Abarth 500e Scorpionissima. Yeah, cool. Monaco Narrow Streets Long is the Mazda MX-5 Miata. Used to be the Fiat again, but you know, that's gone to super rare, so the Mazda has taken its place. Lotus Elan at 323, and then the Mazda Speed again at 233. Monaco Streets again goes to the Donk S8. Look at that. Followed by the Alpine in third place after the two Donks in separate tunes. Monaco Streets Wet goes to the Lotus 7 Twin Cam, followed by the Chrysler 200. And then we've got Monaco Hairpin Wet, which is the Renault Laguna Coupe at 323, followed by a pair of Lotus Twin Cam SSs again at 323 and 978. Moving on to Tokyo Off-Ramp, it's the Lotus Twin Cam again, probably one of the better standard tire rares that you can utilize. Obviously now that the Mitsubishi Outlander is also a super rare, used to be a rare but not anymore. Buick Velite is next, and the Chrysler 200 convertible. Chrysler 200 convertible, one of those cars where it isn't the best in anything, but it always shows up being second or third. Actually, I stand corrected. If you get Ocean City Streets, the Chrysler 200 is the car to use. But aside of that, it's like second or third, you know, most of the time. Butte, we've got the BMW iX3 Premier Edition, Lincoln, and the BMW again. Canyon Butte, we've got a new winner. It's the Ram 3500. It used to be in the previous video, BMW being the first place car, but now the Ram is the best one to use with the Canyon Butte. So that's pretty cool. A new winner has, you know, risen. Canyon Butte Sand, though, however, is the Hummer H2 territory. Actually, the meta has kind of regressed back to Hummer H2 times. This is going to be winning a lot of track sets, especially the snow, I believe. Deals Gap is up next. It's the Alpine at 323, followed by the Demon Roadster and the Volkswagen Scirocco. Deals Gap Wet goes to the Mazda MX-5, followed by the W212 Mercedes-Benz E220 BlueTech. Obviously, I'm very proud to see a car like that in, you know, the top 3 ranks. Moving on, Forest Road, Demon Roadster is back. So, you know, when I think of Demon Roadster, think of Forest Road, think of Twisty Circuit rolling. That's where you want to use it. Forest Road Wet, we have the Renault Coleus. I think this is one of 2 times you will see it in today's episode. Mazda MX-5 is next, and the Skoda Enyaq comes in 3rd place. This is also a new track set, which I've added onto the series. Car Park, we've got Jetta G40 Junior, followed by the Opel GT and the Jetta G40. So once again, like I said earlier, the Opel GT isn't the best car in any track set. You think it's the best in slalom, it isn't. You think it's the best in Car Park, it isn't. You think it's the best in G-Force, it isn't. It's all really quite interesting. G-Force, I believe it was the Opel, right? And then slalom is going to be the Twizy, and then Car Park is going to be the Jetta G40. So the Opel GT just isn't the best in any, which is quite surprising, honestly. It's lightweight, handles very well. I expected better from it. Slalom is up next. Yep, Renault Twizy 323, followed by the 233, and of course we have the Jetta in 3rd place. Twisty Road goes to the Lotus Elan SE, followed by the Mazda and the Lotus again. Twisty Road Dirt, Ford Kuga, followed by the off-road tire Mitsubishi RVR. Mitsubishi L200 comes in 3rd place. Now, the thing about the rares is that the off-road tires aren't necessarily the best cars to use, and you will see some examples like in the Twisty Road Dirt. Twisty Road Gravel, I mean, no off-road car is going to be good on the gravel, but for gravel, we've got the Ford Kuga, the Mitsubishis, and then for Hairpin Road Gravel, it's about the same thing as the previous episode that we covered. Slalom, same thing about, adding in the Suzuki Vitara. G-Force Gravel, same thing, if you want to use an all-surface tire rare, go with a Ford Kuga. That's the most important thing. You want to go for the Ford Kuga. Hairpin Road Wet, we've got the Renault Laguna Coupe, followed by a pair of Lotus Twin Cam SS's. Slalom Wet, it's just all the same car in different tunes. Again, if you are bothered, 879, 978, then 789. If you're not bothered like myself, I'll just go 323, that's fine. Moving on, Twisty Circuit Wet, we've got the Mazda MX-5 323, followed by the other MX-5, and then the Renault Coleus again. Lumbermill Twisty Circuit, we've got the Mazda Speed MX-5. Here's the thing, if you really want to be a rare specialist, you really need to focus on knowing which hybrid wins which hybrid track set. Because you've got the Demon Roadster, you've got the Mazda Speed, both of which are, twisty cars, twisty specialists, skewed hybrid. And it's really hard to remember. I mean, what I'm trying to tell myself is Demon Roadster, Forest Road, Twisty Circuit, and then in any other, circumstance on a hybrid track set, I'll probably give the Mazda Speed the benefit of the doubt, maybe. Lumbermill Forest Rally with the Mitsubishi RVR, off-road tire supremacy taking on this track. Lumbermill River Rally, it's the same situation, behind a pair of Vitaras. Motocross Drive, we've got the Hummer H2 SUT, and followed by the SUV, and the Mercedes-Benz 280. The next one's quite interesting, though, is Motocross Wet, where the Mercedes leapfrogs the Hummers. How does that work? Why does wet make a difference? I don't know, but there's a huge difference between dry and wet. And then moving on to Hairpin Snow, as always guys, I get my time from Top Guys Records. Hairpin Snow, we've got the Mercedes-Benz 280 GE, followed by the RVR and the Fiat Panda car, and then we've got North Loop. So now again, we get into North Loop territory. Usually it's dominated by about 1 or 2 cars, and for North Loop Rally, I can say it's dominated by the Alpine GTA, a little bit of Aston Martin, a little bit of Chevrolet Corvette Z4, but it's mostly Alpine GTA Turbo Le Mans. So North Loop Relay 1, North Loop Relay 2, North Loop Relay 3, North Loop Relay 4, North Loop Relay 5. So the Virage Volante becomes the best car for the 5th version, but when it comes back to just the entirety of the North Loop, once again, it goes to the Alpine GTA V6 Turbo Le Mans. Now, moving on, Fast Circuit is up next. Again, we've got the 332 beating the 323. Then we've got the Chevrolet Corvette C4 coming up behind. These two cars are very similar, right? The Corvette and the Alpine GTA, but more often than not, the Alpine seems to come up on top. Moving on to Fast Circuit Rolling, it's the same scenario, but this time the 323 and the 332 are swapped, right? So now Fast Circuit Rolling 323 Alpine is the car to go for. Moving on to Ocean City Streets, we're greeted by our thumbnail car. It is indeed the Buick Grand National. Well, not really the thumbnail car, because I did kind of choose the GNX, but we'll let that slide. We'll let that slide. Okay, it's a Grand National, but I did choose the GNX for the thumbnail, which is a ultra rare, isn't it? Wow, crazy. Anyway, Ocean City Streets, that's the car to use. Ocean City Streets Wet, we've got the Chrysler 200 convertible at 323, followed by the Honda Accord Hybrid and the Lincoln Mark 8. I do believe that if you have a drag spec spec version of the Chrysler 200 convertible, it will be better, but there is no proof of that on Top Drive's record, so I'm going to refrain from that for now. City Streets medium wet is up next. We got the Skoda Enyaq. You always gotta remember this, by the way. The white and the blue, right? They look like they're the same damn car, but they got different times, and it's kind of confusing. But City Streets medium, use the white one. I know they look like they're exactly the same, but one is actually better than the other, so, you know, it's a little bit confusing that way. There's even a car in between, in the likes of the Renault Kelios, for crying out loud. City Street small, again, a little bit of a shocker. It's the Lincoln Mark 8, followed by the Chrysler and the Lincoln again. Ocean Beach Slalom, the wet version, goes to the BMW, followed by the blue Enyaq, the white one nowhere to be seen, and the Audi A6, and then we have OBS Dry, which is Ocean Beach Slalom Dry, where again, the BMW is the king here, both at 323, wet and dry. Then you've got the Lincoln MKC and the Peugeot 208. Moving on to Rallycross Medium Dry, 323, Rallycross Small Dry, 323, BMW Premier Edition. I want the BMW Premier. I only have one, and I have a drag spec, which is still very useful, a drag spec version, but also a 323 is going to be very, very, very useful for anything rallycross. I mean, that's crazy how good this thing is. Rallycross medium wet goes to the four-wheel drive all-surface tire cars, the Mitsubishi L200, L200s, and then in third place is the BMW Premier Edition once again. Rallycross small wet, still the BMW, which is pretty crazy, followed by a pair of Ford F-150 Tremor FX2s. Now, when moving on to the hill climb for the dirt version, it's the Ford F-150 taking the cake at drag spec, followed by the 323 version, and then the GMC Sierra. Hill climb dirt wet, we've got the GMC Envoy, followed by the Ram 3500, and then we have the Buick iX3. Then moving on to hill climb gravel, here we go, drag spec version, iX3 being the best one, followed by the 323 and the Ford F-150. Hill climb sand, we've got the Ram. So this Ram, honestly, turns out to be pretty useful for now. It is a 37 RQ, which means that there is space for Hutch to add in 38s and 39s, which are going to be better than this, or they have the potential to be better than this. But for now, the Ram 3500 is the best for hill climb sand. So, you know, it's not going to be useful for a very long time, I think. But, you know, enjoy it while it lasts. It's something new, it's something fresh. Hill climb snow is the Lamborghini Cheetah, followed by the Lamborghini LM001. Regular hill climb is a 323 iX3, followed by the drag spec iX3. So now I'm starting to think that actually 323 is the better option to use and to upgrade. So if you only have one, maybe go 323. I went 332. It's still useful, but it really seems like 323 is taking the cake more often than not. Quarter mile, we've got the AC Cobra. So like I said, one of the biggest things that have changed in terms of meta for rares is the drag meta. The Ghibli's gone. Firebird's gone. Corvette 396 gone. C2's gone. So it's a complete change of house. Quarter mile, we've got a tie between the GTX and the AC Cobra at drag spec. Half mile, we have the C3 Corvette ZR1, followed by the AC, and then the C3 Corvette LT1. And then the 1 mile, we have the Virage Volante, because this thing is like 90 or 89 MRA, followed by the ZR1 and the Lamborghini 350 GTV. Moving on to Test Bowl, the car that you want to use now is the Citroen Michelin Bread Van. So, you know, when it comes to the drag meta for rares, cars to remember, Bread Van, Virage Volante, AC Cobra, and the Corvette ZR1. I think those are going to be some pretty useful cars for us to remember from now on. 1 mile snow, again, goes to the Ram 3500, followed by the BMW iX. 1 mile sand, we have the drag spec version of the BMW iX3, followed by the Alcyone. 1 mile dirt, we have the drag Alcyone, which is the best car. Off-road drags are going to be a pain to remember, just want to let you know. 1 mile gravel, we've got the Citroen beating the Alcyones. Canyon Tour, we've got the Donkervoort S8 being the best car once again. Honestly, for the Donkervoort S8, go 323. It seems to be where it seems to be the best is always its version of 323, followed by, you know, the Alpine coming in third place. Canyon Tour wet, again, it's a clean sweep of Lotus 7 twin cam SS's. Hairpin Road, again, a bit of a niche. But it is that Barf at 35 RQ. This is old RQ numbers. I believe it's RQ 37 now. They're changing a lot now. It's fluctuating a lot. Followed by the blue Barf and then the Ford Evos. Ocean Highway, again, Donkervoort S8. What a freaking surprise this car has become, huh? It's truly been, I guess, the real dark horse, the real winner after that, you know, a Barf Berlinetta Corsa went super rare. Now, moving on, Ocean Parking Lot. Okay, again, a Bar 500E being the best car to use at 323, followed by the 233 version, and then the Lotus Elan. I mean, don't let the stats fool you. It's 5,184, but it's beating out cars with 5,390, 6 more handling. How does that happen? I do not know. Speed bump, half kilometer. Plymouth GTX, best car there, followed by the Chevrolet Mako Shark and the Astrovet. I really wish we saw more of this track set. It's so quirky, but it's great for dragsters with medium ground clearance. I would like to see that for all rarities across the board, you know, be more common in multiplayer events and maybe show up in clubs, you know, but you know, they're never going to update clubs, but a man can wish, right? Car park wet, Nissan Wing Road, Supremacy. Karting wet, Mazda MX-30 taking the cake. Tokyo Bridge, Lincoln Mark 8 again. And remember, this was the best car for City Street Small as well. So definitely a car worth keeping around. Tokyo Off-Ramp, the Lotus 7 Twin Cam SS. Tokyo G-Force, we're dialing it back. It's the Nissan Wing Road once again, followed by the Leon and the Audi 80. Again, that car just showing up, you know, when you don't think it would. Mountain Tour is up next. We've got the Corvette C4. Yes, it finally wins something. Not the Turbo Le Mans. The Buick Velite 6 is in second place, and the Chrysler 200 is in third. Mountain Tour, though, it is the Alpine GTA, the Turbo Le Mans being first. Honestly, the only reason why I think that the Turbo Le Mans is not in Mountain Tour Wet as a top 3 finisher, I need to double check this, but it's probably because no one has actually put in the times for this car Mountain Tour Wet, to be honest, because this thing it's great. It's great for anything that has, you know, a long straight, but also has a little bit of turns. Moving on to Forest Road Snow, it's the Hummer H2, and I think when it comes to the snow meta, it's going to be mostly these cars. Slalom Sand is the Mitsubishi RVR at 233, by the way, over 323. 323 second, and the Fiat Panda car is third. G-Force Sand, then we have the 323 version of the Mitsubishi RVR. So Slalom is a 233, then G-Force is a 323. A lot of things to remember, you know. If you really want to be a master of all, you need a bunch of upgrades on all these cars. Twisty Road Sand is the Hummer again. Cross Country Grass goes to the Hummer again. And then we've got a couple more. Yeah, I added more track sets. Cross Country was the last track set in the previous episode for the Super Airs, but I've added more track sets. I think there's 6 or 7 more to go. Half Mile Dirt is going to go to the BMW iX3. Half Mile Snow is going to go to the Ram 3500. Half Mile Dirt Sand, I should just put sand, half mile sand, honestly. But it's the BMW iX3 again, a drag spec, half mile dirt, gravel. I don't know why I'm putting dirt. I just mean gravel. I need to edit that later in post. I just mean half mile gravel and half mile sand. But for the gravel, again, the Premier Edition is fantastic. It's a similar story when it comes to the quarter mile. Alcyone at 323. Dockyard Circuit, we've got Donkavort S8 once again being the best, followed by the Lotus Elan SE and the Ford Evos. And then Mountain Slalom, which I do believe this is the last track set. I think so. Yeah, it is. Mountain Slalom goes to the Opel Manta 400 Rally at 233, followed by a 323 version, and then the Renault Twizy F1 at 233. So regular slalom, Twizy is the best. Mountain Slalom, because they're a little bit more straights, you know, at the beginning and at the end, the Opel Manta takes the cake. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. So slight little changes to the rare meta, right? Dragsters have changed. The hybrid car has changed. You know, the off-road meta has changed. Some very useful cars for you guys to, you know, keep an eye out for now include the Donkavort S8, the AC Cobra, the Nissan Wing Road. All of those cars are going to be very, very useful going forward. Now, again, we want to put an emphasis on the first place cars, but those that come second and third are still pretty useful, such as the Subaru Alcyone, for example, the Ram 3500, which is pretty decent. Mitsubishi RVR is always one to collect, and even the Mercedes-Benz 280 GE. The rule of thumb is, if you show up as a top 3 car in this video, you're going to be relatively useful already at a minimum. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. That is today's episode of the best cars for many of the track sets in Top Drives. I hope you guys have a great day. Stay tuned for Ultra Rares. They're coming up next. A lot of cars taking the place of what used to be the Maxi Turbos destination or the Maxi Turbos territory. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. I'm going to stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Sit back, relax in my Bonneville Pontiac. Hold tight all night, cruise to Jacksonville.